Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today we are going to be covering some of the races on Friday's card over at Santa Anita for January 23rd. So that's the start of the race week here. Santa Anita's got a 3-day race week coming up starting Friday, and we've got some races to cover and talk about. So let's get going over at the Great Race Place. So Santa Anita's going to be starting off their race card at 12:30 Pacific, so that's 2:30 here in the Central Time Zone. And some big news came out of Santa Anita, over the past week. They had a little kerfuffle, maybe you'd want to call it, or something. So it looks like Santa Anita had installed some of the instant racing machine type devices there in their first floor. They were trying to make a parlor there, and these machines are similar to what they have in Arkansas and Kentucky and Virginia, which you see the purses are really big in those places, and it's because of these instant racing machines. So Santa Anita is trying to get into that game. They installed machines, and the authorities came and took them out. So I don't know if it was a scene like the Untouchables or something going on there, but quite interesting to read that. And it looks like Santa Anita is going to be fighting this. They want to put those machines back in, or probably put in some different machines, and do something to add to their purse structure and increase purses, and maybe increase the horse population. So pulling for them here. Hopefully it works out for you folks over at Santa Anita. I definitely am pulling for you here. So just wanted to review that. It is big news, and it is, involving California racing, which is what we really cover here primarily on Fast Horses Today. So let's get started with Friday's card. I've got a few races I'm going to make win bets on this card. I think, we might get some decent prices and maybe cash some nice win bets. So we are going to skip over the first couple races. Going to go to the third race of the day. Third race has an approximate post time about 1:34 Pacific, so that's 3:34 here in the Central Time Zone. And the third race is a mile on the grass. These are maiden $50,000 claimers. These are fillies, and these are 3-year-olds only. Now the rails are going to be 30 feet out there. Horses are going to be running on the outer portion of that turf course, and I've got a horse here I like as a win bet here. There's several horses who have been running in special weights and are dropping. The connections are getting realistic. They want to try to win races, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know that there are already what we call panic drops here on Fast Horses. I just think that some of these connections, get realistic. They want to win races, and if somebody wants to jump in and pay $50,000 for a horse, the horse will be theirs. So the horse that I feel fits this profile is the 3-horse and Miss Donna. So Miss Donna comes in for the Michael McCarthy barn. McCarthy has run this horse 3 times and made in special weight races. He's dropping her into a $50,000 claiming race. Kazushi Kimura takes the call. Now, Kimura had ridden this horse a couple times, to some even efforts. She had been sprinting in her 3 turf starts, sprinting over at Del Mar. So those are the 5 furlong variety. And, those 5 furlong turf races takes a special type, to win those. You've got to have a lot of speed. You've got to have some good positioning. If your horse is not a sprinter, then those 5 furlong races are going to be pretty tough to win, no matter who you are. So, looks to me like, I think, the move to a mile should be fine for Miss Donna. I think last time, she might have needed that race. I thought she ran a nice race. She came third in a maiden special weight at the 5 furlong distance. And it just looked to me like, the added distance should be a plus for Miss Donna. Now, she's 5-2 in the program. As I mentioned, Kazushi Kimura on the horse. Kimura knows her. He's ridden her twice. She should get a nice position here from the 3-hole, and I think, Kimura can finish up nicely with her. So 5-2, I'm going to guess we'll get somewhere around there. I think she'd be a nice win bet. That's the 3-horse in the third race, Miss Donna. Now we're going to move over to the fourth race of the day. Fourth race is a 6.5 furlong dirt race. And this is one of those maiden races with a restriction, or you could put your horse in for a claim. So that, the restriction being that they're looking for horses who have sold for $150,000 or less. If you don't fit that category, you can always put your horse in for a $62,500 claim. So, as I cruise through the field, there are several horses who are going in for the claim price. Even there's a horse that they're taking off some pounds, so the horse goes for $50,000. So be that as it may, I've got a win bet I'd like to make in this race, and that being on the 6-horse, Sharon's Beach. Sharon's Beach comes in for Jonathan Thomas. Umberto Rispoli takes the call. Now, he's nicely bred. I mean, he's by Omaha Beach out of an Into Mischief mare, so certainly nice breeding there. This horse comes off 2 races back last summer over at Colonial Downs. And, Colonial Downs primarily runs turf racing there nowadays, which, it's the bulk of their cars, but they do run some dirt races there as well. Now, Sharon's Beach had tried both surfaces over there at Colonial. He went on a turf race first time in a maiden special weight. Didn't really show much there as a favorite. Probably had a tough start there, which might have compromised any chance. But, the horse really didn't finish up much there. They moved this horse over to the dirt. He ran a 7-furlong race on the dirt. And, I'll be quite honest. I feel like the dirt races at Colonial are a little hard to decipher because they don't use that main dirt course all that much. So it seems like it's very fast, packed down. They run some fast times there. So, including what Sharon's Beach did. Sharon's Beach, they went seven furlongs and 121-4. I mean, that's blazing. Sharon's Beach was on the lead, fighting it out. Ended up coming third that day. Gotten beaten by several lengths. But I think that was a live race. The horse that finished second ended up winning his next out and, just beat Sharon's Beach, on the wire for second. So I think that race should be, should have had this horse ready for this one. I don't know that there's a whole lot of talent here. Horse has been training really nicely, on the 28th had a, big-time workout. So I think that workout there should probably be a nice tightener for something like this. And then it's had a couple workouts subsequently. So it's had a nice work tab during the month of January, and I think this horse should be ready to go. 9-5 in the program, so certainly no secret here. Jonathan Thomas is an absolutely capable trainer. He brings over nice horses to California. He's been doing this now for the last few years. So thanks to Jonathan Thomas, very welcome addition to California. And I think that Sharon's Beach should be tough here in the fourth race. So we're going to make a win bet on the 6-horse Sharon's Beach. All right, now let's move over to the 7th race of the day. 7th race is a 6-furlong dirt race. This is a first-level allowance race for the Calbreds. These are 3-year-olds, so, the newly turned 3-year-olds. And, first-level allowance, if you want to, there's also a condition if you want to put the horse in for $50,000, you can do that as well. There's a horse that's, in for the $50,000 tag, so qualifies for this race. So I have a win bet that I want to make here on this race, that being on the 7-horse, My Love Caroline. My Love Caroline comes in for the George Paraban barn. George Paraban puts Ismael Harmil on a horse. So, that's a new pairing there. Ismael Harmil, new to the Jock County, has done some really nice work, and he's riding for George Paraban. Now, if you remember this horse last year, this horse was involved in, I would say, one of the more controversial decisions by the California stewards in the entire year. I mean, certainly an entire Del Mar meet, but the entire year. My Love Caroline ended up winning the CTBA stakes race, which is a $100,000 stakes race for California-bred 2-year-olds. She won that race really nicely. I mean, fought off, a horse all the way around, ended up winning, the race by a nose. They put up the inquiry sign and, took a long time with it. I mean, they even I remember the footage. They showed the winner's circle, George Paraban, the connections, his family. They were all happy in the winner's circle. They were there already, ready to take a picture. And then they made the unconscionable decision to disqualify My Love Caroline. Now, she was a long shot that day. She was like 20, 25 to 1, something on that order. Now, personally, I didn't have a bet in that race. I didn't have My Love Caroline, so I'm not coming from a biased opinion here, but I just don't know how they did that to her. When they did that, this horse, I don't know if maybe she had gotten hurt in that race or subsequent in training, but she had not been seen again since that race back in August at Del Mar. And also, I felt like this really turned the George Paraban barn, in a bad way as well, where he was winning races up until then, and it's just kind of really sent things in a very poor direction. So very costly decision, but anyway, it looks to me like George Paraban's been training this horse nicely. She's got some nice works, and she's 7-2 in the program, on Friday in the 7th race. I think, we'll probably see something like that. People might sway away from the George Paraban barn. He's a small barn, but he's a very quality trainer, and he gets some nice wins. I think she'll be really ready off the layoff. I like this nice outside position. I like the races that she showed last year as a 2-year-old. So it's just a matter of, has she grown up? Has she developed into a nice 3-year-old? So I'm going to bet yes. And as I mentioned, 7-2 in the program. I feel like My Love Caroline is a nice win bet I'm going to make in the 7th race. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so to start off the race week over at Santa Anita for Friday, January 23rd, we've got 3 win bets throughout the card. We're going to move over to the 3rd race, the 3-horse, Miss Donna. The 4th race, the 6 horse, Sharon's Beach. The 7th race, the 7 horse, My Love Caroline. So if you see fit and you want to make those win bets, as I'm going to make those win bets, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to use those bets in your multi-race wagers, the first couple do fall in that first pick 5, that last one falls in the late pick 5. If you decide to use those in the pick 5s, the pick 4, pick 3, whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very, very safe race week to start out things. Let's wish ourselves some nice trips, some good trips, and some good luck. Maybe we'll see some winners to start the weekend. So as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses Today and listening to the picks. You can always like, dislike, make comments, make good comments, make bad comments. I promise to respond to everything. And if you haven't done so, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for me. Doesn't cost you anything. It just delivers the content to you. Think of it as like an Uber Eats or a DoorDash that doesn't charge you. It delivers right to you. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the subscribers. And again, let's make this a very good week, starting off the weekend over at Santa Anita, the Great Race Place. We'll see you for more coverage over the weekend. Thank you.